Yapping Fever.
Hello, welcome to Yapping Fever, the podcast about all things 20s, careers, dreams, chaos, growth, and the realness of adulting. I'm your host, Tamara, and let's get into today's yap. Hi guys, I hope you all had a good fortnight. I had one that was good and really bad. Yeah, we're not going to get into it, but I hope you guys had a great fortnight. To start us off today, I'm going to give you my creative recommendation. This week, I'm recommending a book. It's this book called The Space Between by Michelle Andrews and Zara McDonald. You might know their names if you listen to the Shameless podcast or you've heard of the Shameless podcast. This was a book that they did back in 2020. And if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend you do. It truly is about your 20s. Their catchline at the bottom is chaos, questions, magic, welcome to your 20s. So very relatable. I picked this book up. I have read it before, firstly, and then I picked it up again this week because I thought there'd be some things in there that would help with this week's topic. And I ended up flipping through and reading about 8 chapters of random other parts in this book. It's really good read. It's really easy to read. Lots of insight, lots of wisdom. I read it when I was a little bit younger, but I feel like if I read it now, fully from cover to cover, I would bring a different perspective. So if you have read it before, feel free to pick it back up again. And if you would like to read it, give it a shot. If you know me personally and don't have it, you can borrow it from me. I'm happy to lend it. Today, we're going to jump straight into the topic. It is romance in your 20s. We'll be talking about everything from being single to dating to relationships to situationships these days. Just all the romance that your 20s can entail. It's a big topic. There's a lot going on because romance, either having it or lack thereof having it, is a big part of growing up, a big part of being an adult. And a lot of it starts when you get into your 20s. I personally am 23 and I feel like I have a lot of friends who are at very different stages of romance. I still think being in a relationship is more rare than being single at this age, whereas in your later 20s, it's much more rare to be single than being in relationships because I feel like lots more people are more serious. Lots of weddings happen at the end of your 20s. And yeah, there's no right way to do it. There's no one path fits all. It's very unique to you. So there's a lot to discuss and a lot to unpack. So today we're going to break it into categories. And we're also going to talk about some of those cliche sayings that people talk about romance in your 20s. And I'm going to give you my opinions on them. Firstly, we're going to start with the single life. The single lifestyle. I have been single in my 20s, so I have experienced some of the lifestyle. And I feel like being single can be vastly different depending on the person. I know people who are single who are not looking for anyone due to heartbreak or they've never been romantically involved with anyone, so they're just not there yet. I know people who are casually dating. I know people who really want to find the person they want to be with forever. I know people who normally casually date and now they're trying really hard not to see anyone or be romantically involved, to work on themselves. Okay, there's just a million different little categories in this big category of being single. And nothing is either right or wrong. It's just really what feels best for you. And I'm going to give you some of my context of my single life. So I was single up until my first boyfriend. I got him when I was 17. We dated for 7 months, broke up when I was 18, and then I was single until I met my current boyfriend, who I met just after turning 21. So I spent a good 3 years, in those late teens, early 20s, just being single. And I think I went through a few different stages and phases of my single life. But being single in those times was very different, of course, than being single back in early high school or even late high school, because romance was much more prominent. Lots of people around you were getting into their first relationships or breaking up, or you were finally an adult. You could go to bars, you could casually date, you could do what you wanted. So it was quite interesting, an interesting time. So from leading into this, I'm going to talk about the first cliche that you hear, that everyone should be single in their 20s. It's such a loaded comment to say. If you are single and someone said it to you, I feel like you can be like, great, I've ticked it off. Fantastic. But if you're in a relationship, especially if you're in a relationship with like someone you've been since like you were 19 or since you were young, you don't want to hear it. Like it's quite rude. I also don't think it's true. I think it really depends on the person, depends on your circumstances. However, for me, I agree with it. For me personally, I do think I need to be single for some of my 20s. Like I think those 3 years that I took by myself were really important. And I think if I got straight back into a relationship after my first boyfriend, I wouldn't have had the time to work some things out. So there's a few reasons I think I should have been single in my 20s. And like, even like it was very early, it was late teens, 20s. Like I'm 23 now. I don't think I should be single. Like if someone was like, oh, you should be single at 23, I'm like, no, thank you. But like in terms of like getting to know yourself, being single for those 3 years was really important to me. Number one, going back to my first boyfriend, I just knew I wouldn't be with this guy forever. Some people get into their first relationships and they think this is their one true love and they're going to be with this person forever, and it's totally valid. First loves are very big and you have every right reason to think they are the love of your life if it ends up being that way or if it doesn't. I think those emotions and those feelings are so true, and I think sometimes people think of first loves as being like silly, and I think they're important. So if you're in your first love and you think you'll be with them forever, I love that for you. I really hope that's true. However, I just didn't feel like with this guy. I knew it was temporary. It was also ingrained in me, and I don't think it was purposely, but my parents always said that you should never be with the first guy you're with, and you always have to have at least one heartbreak before you find your person. And that probably came from their own experiences. And they might have not meant it literally, but I really listened. So I knew this boy and me were going to break up because I couldn't be with the first guy I was with, and I had to have a heartbreak. And don't get me wrong, like when we broke up, I was still upset. Like I didn't want to break up. It was near the end of year 12, and I remember being like, it would have been nice if we just had like the summer together to have like a summer romance. And it just lasted a bit longer. In hindsight, glad we didn't, because I actually went to Europe last minute, and that was a lot more fun than dating a guy from high school, in my opinion. So yeah, I was like sad that we broke up, but I wasn't like truly broken. Then I was like officially single, and I went through those different phases. My first phase when I broke up was like, I just wanted to be on my own. Like I didn't want to be with anyone serious. I did just turn 18, so I did kiss a few people at the bar, but like I wasn't going to get out of being single. And this continued on into lockdown. Of course, I was in Victoria, so lockdown was literally like 2 years. And those 2 years of me being alone and being single were really important to me. I think I personally needed them. I just lost my boyfriend, so I was dealing with that. But then I also actually had like a really messy year 12 in terms of like friendships, and I've lost friends. So I really did feel alone. And throughout the boredoms of lockdown and throughout like all the like moods and just having to be by myself, and I couldn't distract myself with another person, I really got to know myself, and I really got to figure myself out, and I kind of reinvented myself. And that is why I really relate to the everyone should be single in their 20s saying, because I needed it. I needed to know who I was outside of high school, outside of my first love, outside of friendships that I thought would last a long time. And then through that process of figuring myself out, I actually like found my way back to people who I related to so much more. I found out like that I, really have these things that I want to pursue and that are more important to me than like a silly boy, and like also knowing like what I would want out of my next relationship, because you can tell by that one, like I wasn't that invested. So I knew like I wasn't going to get into a relationship again unless I like really wanted to be with them, at least like a serious relationship. So yeah, that's that one. The next cliche is being single in your 20s is more fun. This one is actually one I hear a lot. And in some ways, yeah, it can absolutely be true. In other ways, no. I really think it depends how you put everything into perspective. I personally had some really fun nights when I was single. I also had some really crap ones. Like, some of the crappiest nights out were definitely in my single era. And I think it's a saying because there's more possibility that can happen when you're single. Like, there's a possibility that you can go out tonight and find someone to hook up with. You can go to your local coffee shop and ask a cute barista out. You can be like reading a book in the library and someone will come up to you and fall in love with you. Like, there's that possibility. Whereas like when you have a relationship, you're not seeking out those things. And it's a bit more mundane per se. But it is about just how you put into perspective. I have nights where I think staying home with my boyfriend is a lot more fun than going out to the bar. However, I did lean into this when I was single. And I do think like if you're one of those people who's single and don't want to be single especially, or like you're finding it hard, lean into it. Have fun. Start saying the saying like being single in your 20s is more fun, because I think like if you tap into it, you can have the best time. It doesn't have to be about dating too. It can be about like making sure that you like see your friends you want to see, making sure that you like go on solo dates, do everything you want to do, because like there's literally no one telling you they don't want to do it with you. Like, you can do it yourself. You don't have to ask for permission. Move overseas, go on a holiday if you want to, if you have the money. Like, just tap into the lifestyle of like, it's so much fun to do whatever I want to do. Moving on to a different category. This category is situationships. What a fun one. What a modern one. Our society and generation has really brought this one to the forefront due to normalizing casual dating so much. They can be so complicated, situationships, and there's actually quite a few different types of them. But mostly it can be that space between like being single and being in an official relationship. And when I talk to people about it, I feel like the situationships can give you like the heartbreak that is so much worse than a relationship breakup. Not for everyone, of course, depending on how you break up with people, but I find that like it's something you dive headfirst into, and then you're swimming to the bottom and you didn't realize the other person's gone to the surface, and now you're stuck drowning all by yourself, because there's always one person who's fine because they wanted the situationship and you're left literally drowning. They can be a thing to get out of responsibilities, because I don't know if you've ever been in one, you can like sometimes bring it up and be like, oh, like, you know, what are we? Or like if they do something to annoy you, I'm like, oh, like, you know, I'm a bit annoyed that you did that. And then they always clap back and be like, why are you annoyed? We're not even together. Which is such bullshit. Because you're literally doing everything that you do in a relationship, but you're not official yet. Like, you're literally doing everything. You spend all your time together. You're like celebrating birthdays. You're like meeting parents, but oh no, we're not together. Oh, it's bullshit. I recently rewatched the movie 500 Days of Summer. It is absolutely about a situationship. Watch it if you haven't. There's this part and she's like, we're not even together. And the main guy, Tom, turns around. He's like, that's bullshit. Like, we're in a relationship. Like, I get a say in this too. And it was so real. It was so real. So definitely give that one a watch. I really liked it. I actually liked the movie. I haven't seen it for ages. As I was saying, there's a few different types of situationships. It can be like the start of a relationship, like literally where you're definitely like dating and you're just like sussing to see if you're going to be in a relationship. It can be a fling over the summertime. It can be like more serious. And then it can be like that part where you think you're in a relationship, but you just like don't want to ask. Or you are in a relationship, but they're like, oh, I'm just not ready for a relationship, so let's just keep it as a situationship. If you have heard that recently, run. Just run. They're not mature enough. They're not ready for you. Do not put yourself through all that pain for them not to be in a relationship with you if you want a relationship. I've had a situationship before, and that was what broke my heart. It was literally like a month, and it ended suddenly. I knew it had to end due to some circumstances, but then that person moved on so quick, and it was so painful. And I mentioned it like the top of this episode. My parents were like, you got to have at least one heartbreak until you find a person to be with. Oh my God, this was my heartbreak. I was like, oh, that first like relationship that ended with my boyfriend in year 12 was nothing. That was not love. This was so painful. It took me a year and a half to get over it. I'm not joking. A year and a half or 4 week thing. It could have been 3 weeks. Yeah, it hurt. And I like then like wouldn't date men. I kind of had like a few other guys hurt me after that, and then I like did a 180 and I was like not trusting anyone. Yeah, I really like switched up, but like it hurts. It's so painful. And I also had like a friend, and she had a situationship. It was different to mine, and she came to me and she was like, we're officially together, like we're exclusive. And I was like, oh my God, yay. And she was like, but he doesn't want to be my boyfriend. I was like, what the fuck? She's like, yeah. And I was like, so you're exclusive? Like you've both agreed you're not seeing other people? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, but he's not your boyfriend. And she was like, uh-huh. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is how far situationships can go. This is how far people can go to like get out of responsibilities. Because I do think when you label it boyfriend, girlfriend, you have more responsibility. You have more of like, you just have more responsibility. I don't know how else to word it. Why, if you don't label it, you can get out of things? And I'm being like, okay, what is this? Like, you can't be. And also this girl wanted a relationship because like of trust issues and everything. She needed a relationship. If you both don't want to label it, absolutely fine, do what you want, but you have to be on the same page. She wasn't. And I was like, oh my God, like they can be so complicated and messy. And I honestly think they're like one of the worst categories because they're full of heartbreak. They're full of people not wanting to be responsible. It's just messy, guys. Okay, the next cliche I'm going to talk about is if they wanted to, they would. And I think this one relates to a lot of people in their dating era, in their situationship era, so I thought I'd talk about it in this category. People either really agree with it or people really don't. I'm a believer in it. I do really think like that old saying, if he wanted to, he would, is so true. Sometimes on social media, I do think at the moment it's chucked in with like videos about like massive grand gestures. I don't believe it in that way per se, because I think that could be fabricated. Like you don't believe everything you see on social media, but I believe it in terms of like if you're talking to your friends and you're like unsure if they're keen or something, if he wanted to, he would. If he like wants to put an effort to see you and date you and be committed to you, he will, she will, they will. And I really believe this when it came true for me. When I first started dating my boyfriend, I went on our first date and I genuinely did not think I would see him again. At that time, it was after that situationship, after having my heart broken. I had really little trust with men. I was not dating. It was when I was also dating for fun. Like I was not dating to be in a relationship at all, because I didn't trust that at all. But I went on this date with him. It was great. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked it. And in the date, I mentioned I was going to Vietnam in 2 days' time with my best friends for 3 weeks. I mentioned that kind of was like a way to give him an out. So he could be like, oh, well, I'm not going to like see her for a month. It's not worth my time and effort to keep up with a girl I won't see. I could just go and see someone else. We also met on like a dating app, so you can never know what you're getting into. Like I was like, he's here for a casual thing is what I was picturing. I was like, he doesn't have to keep in touch with me, right? He can easily go and swipe on another girl and go out with her instead. And then he texted me like after our first date as well, being like, I'd really like to hang out with you. I'd love to see you again when you get back. I thought it was more of a nicety thing rather than like an actual fact, because lots of people do kind of do that one text. And then we like didn't talk. And then I was in Vietnam and he sent me a message being like, hey, I'm still waiting for you to send through those photos, because I talked about on the date going to this place called Zara, which is like known for the rice fields and supposed to be really pretty. And he was like, I really want to see the photos. And I was like, oh, okay, great. You remembered that. Like such like an offhanded comment. And he remembered it. So I like sent them through. And then when I landed, he was like, oh, when are you free to go out on a date? I was like, oh, okay, like I'm free here. And then when we went out on that date, he texted me again and being like, I loved spending time with you. I loved being in your company. If you would like to see each other again, I'd really want to. That is what I mean by if he wanted to, he would. If they wanted to, he would. Like he liked me. There was no games. I feel like especially in your 20s, there can be so many games. I had a guy kind of just before that time where we were kind of texting back and forth, and I like wanted to see him, and I was like, hey, I want to see you, and be like, yeah, I want to see you too, XX. And I'm like, cool, like when are we catching up? Yeah, like let's catch up soon, XX. Like such a game. And then I remember he sent me a text once, and it was like, oh, I'll see, like I'm a little bit busy, I can see you in like 2 weeks time, like 3 weeks time. And I was like, nah, I'm done. Like you're just messing me around. You don't want to see me, which is fine, but just tell me. Like just tell me you don't want to see me. And I remember he sent me that text like, I'll see you in 3 weeks time. And I was like, in my head, I was like, no, I'm never going to see you again. Ever. I'm never going to see you again. Where this person, my boyfriend now, put in so much effort and just made it so clear what he wanted. And yeah, if he wanted to, he would. I really believe it. I don't think you should, if you're not into the games, don't fall for them. When people really like you, they will make the effort to show you that they want to see you and be with you. Okay, the next and last category we're going to talk about is relationships. Huge part of your 20s. People getting in them, people getting out of them, people experimenting with them, people taking them seriously, people getting engaged, people getting married, people probably getting divorced. It's big. It's life-changing things. And lots of people, when getting into relationships, especially these days, they're trying to find the right person, which is fair. But I listened to a podcast this week called Big Talk, Small Talk, and they had the guest Eli Valio on. I talked about her also last week in my podcast. I think she's great. She's an author, she's an influencer. And she made the point that when she started dating again, she had a list of deal breakers that she put over her list of preferences. So this means that like, it's okay to have preferences in what you want in a person, but you also need to have like your deal breakers, which is like your most important ones. And they're the ones that you look for and you want that like your partner doesn't have any deal breakers, but they can have a few things that like aren't your preference. Because normally you only have about like 4 or 5 deal breakers that like you will not date them if they do those things. But you can have these days up to like 20 preferences, and you're not going to find someone who hits all your preferences. Especially like there's so many things like you these days, like you want a brunette, you want a tall guy, you want someone who likes the same movies as you want this, that, and that, and like they're good things to have, but like it's not the end of the world if you don't get that. But your deal breaker is normally like, for you personally, it's the end of the world. Like you don't want to be with a person who hits them. For example, a preference for me would be like a guy who loves summer and loves the sun. My boyfriend loves the cold. We do not have that on the same. Like, I love summer, I want to go to the beach. He doesn't. He puts up with it. Or he doesn't go. Whereas a deal breaker for me would be someone who smokes. I don't want to date someone who smokes. It's fine if you smoke, but it's not for me. Like, I did not want to date a smoker at all. And if you did smoke, I wouldn't date you, right? So they're different things, and they're like on a different scale of importance to me. My boyfriend hits all my deal breakers, as in he doesn't have any deal breakers for me. However, our preferences, like all my preferences, he literally hits like 1 or 2 of them. We hardly have anything that's like the same. We actually like complete opposites. Like preferences of like, I'd like someone who probably sleeps in. He wakes up early. I like someone who likes the summer. He much prefers winter. I like someone who likes the same probably movies as me. He loves horror movies. Like, we actually don't have that many preferences together, but it's not the end of the world. And if I was so strict on the preferences, like, oh, we're so opposite, like we don't have all these things in common, or like he doesn't hit all these things that I want in a guy, I can't date him. I would have like literally lost out on the love of my life, because I would have focused on that rather than being like, what's the things that are really important to me? Oh, he ticks all of them, like he doesn't do any of them. Perfect. We can be together. Yeah, I think it's cool. And also like some of your deal breakers, like they can be smaller. I don't know, like you can make it whatever you want to make it, but stick to your like 5 deal breakers rather than trying to stick to your 20 to 30 preferences, because you will never hit all your preferences and you will probably miss a great guy. Again, with relationship these days, there's so many different types. There's monogamous, there's open, there's polyamorous. Don't think that's how you say it, but you know what I mean. Yeah, and it's great. I think it's fantastic that there's so many different types and people can opt in to what they want, rather than just having like one or the other, like single or in a relationship. I do think though, if you're in a relationship, no matter what type, communication is key, and communication to everyone involved is important. I'm going to tell you about a story. One time I went on a date with a guy. The date was fine. I was happy to see him again. And after the first date, he was like, I'd really like to see you again. Like, let's catch up again. And I was like, perfect. He added me on socials. And when I did some classic stalking, I realized he was seeing a woman. It looks very serious. They lived together. It came across as he was trying to cheat on his girlfriend. Or I feel like he was cheating because we didn't do anything romantic on the date, but like even going on a date with someone, in my books, is cheating. He tried to ask me out again. I declined. And then he worked out that like I sussed his like Instagram, and that like he was seeing someone, and he was like, oh, by the way, like it's okay, I can date you, I'm in an open relationship. Oh, that makes sense. So you weren't cheating on your girlfriend. Cool, great to know. But you didn't tell me this at the start. Like, I feel like you were definitely hiding this from me. And I don't think that's okay. I think if you're in an open relationship, that's absolutely fine. But I think if you want to date other people, they should be told. Because I don't want to be romantically involved with someone that then goes home to his girlfriend. That's not how I like to date my people. I think that's just not for me, and I didn't sign up for it. Also, the way the dates were set up, it wasn't like a one-time thing. It was definitely like he wanted to continuously see me. Like he asked me out again. Like it sounded like he wanted to keep seeing me. Like we were also like taking it slower. What if I liked you and then I want to be with you? And then you're like, oh, I've got a girlfriend. Absolutely not. I'm not letting you have two girlfriends. That's not how I do my relationships. You really have to communicate, I think, to everyone involved if you're in an open relationship, because it made him look also in a bad light. Like he was trying to keep it from me, trying to keep it from his girlfriend. Like he told me he was in an open relationship, but the way he didn't tell me, like, were you really? And I also feel like it could have been solved with some communication. Like if you told me up front, it was then my option to opt into it and be like, oh, I want to do that, or no, it's not for me. But also I think if you told me, like maybe I would have been like, okay, cool. All right. I know you're in an open relationship. I can go for a date. I can see what I think. Like it's up to me. Anyway, I didn't go out with him again because I was like, no, you definitely hid that for me. You did not tell me you're in an open relationship. So maybe tell the next girl you date and they might be cool with it. Okay, and the last cliche that I'm going to talk about, which is a relationship cliche, is don't get married till you're 30. This one goes around all the time. It always comes from people who are older. I hear it quite a lot. And there's a massive misconception that if you get married too young, you will be divorced soon. And to some extent, I definitely agree. And I do feel like too, at the moment, especially on like social media, it's really pushing out young marriages. I feel like trad lifestyle is quite big. I think it's kind of pushed to the forefront of people getting married really young. And why I agree with maybe don't get married too young or too soon, I think is how I word it, too soon in terms of like length of how long you've been together. I do not think you need to wait till you're 30 to be married. It depends on how long you've been together. It depends on your goals. It depends on how you feel with them. I do think relationships can be just as rushed in your 20s as they can be in your 30s. I know people in their 30s and they've been married, and I've like looked at them and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, their relationship is shorter than my uni degree. And you're like 30. And I know that when you're 30, I feel like there's that more, people feel a bit more rushed with timelines, especially if you want kids. But I sometimes think that's more rushed than the people who are like married at 26 when they've been together, especially if they've been together since they were like 19, 18. I personally don't think you should be married too soon. I don't think you should be married or engaged in your first 2 years of relationship. I'm always shocked when someone's like 6 months in and they're engaged, or a year in and they're getting married. Like, oh my God, wow, okay. Like you're still in the honeymoon phase. I just think you have to get a few, I think you just have to get through a few birthdays, through Christmases, holidays, through some in-law events, just through some things, some ups and downs to really work out, number one, if you want to be with the person for a long time. Number two, if you can actually make it through some like hard times and how they react to things. In a year, you might not see the worst side of them. Of course, with like marriages and things, nothing is inevitable. Like you never know if it will last forever if you get married young or if you get married late. But in the first 3 years, I'm always like, don't get married. You can maybe get engaged, but like, I don't think married. I knew this couple and they met when they were 20 and they didn't get married until they were 30, which is like what everyone was telling them. Like, you don't get married till you're 30, don't get married till 30. Fair enough. They got married when they were 30 and they were divorced within a year, which I think is so much worse than if they got married at 26 and they had a few years of marriage and then got divorced. Like, just like that sucks. You wait all this time, you get married, and then it falls apart in that first year, and you already have to go for a divorce. And you were literally together since you were like 19. You should have got married at 23 and been like, I'm not listening to you, and then you could have had a longer marriage. So it really just depends on everything. You can't guarantee. If you will stay together forever, you can't guarantee a divorce. But I do think you should, they are such a big decision, marriages, so I do think you should definitely put thought into it. I do think you should take it seriously. I also do think when it comes to marriages, talking to your partner about what you want your timeline to be is really important. I do not think, I've seen those videos, guys, and I do not think you can ever come back from when someone proposes to you and you say no because you're just not ready. Like, it's just too soon. I think it's an end of a relationship. I do not think you can come back from that. How awkward is that? But like, I love you, I want to be with you, but I'm just not too ready. No, that's so, oh my God, no. Just like, you want to be on a stage where like the person who's getting down on their knee is going to be, like I normally say, like normally people like say no in a proposal because like they don't want to be with him, and that's fine. But sometimes I think it happens just because it's too soon, and then there's no salvaging that, and it was actually a good relationship. I've seen them. I just think it's so embarrassing. I feel so bad for both parties in those cases. Of course, there's no timeline for any of this. Society likes to think there is, but there's not. You can get married at any stage, you can get engaged at any stage, you can have a long engagement, you can have a short engagement. You do you. I personally have been with my boyfriend since I was 21, so I don't think if I'm still with him, I will wait till I'm 30 to marry him, because that's 9 years, and I don't think I need 9 years to wait. However, I do not want to be married when I'm 25. That's way too soon for me. I could probably get engaged at 26 at this stage. That's only 3 years away. So check back in with me in a few years and I can let you know I'm still on the same page. So I just think communication is so key. Just talk about it, especially if you know like you want to be married one day, because you kind of do want to make sure that you're both on the same page so that you can have a great engagement and then a great marriage. And if you're in a relationship and you're like, oh, maybe they're not my person, you're young. It's your 20s. You got time to find someone new. All right, that's all I've got for you today, guys. It was just like a fun one about romance in your 20s and how it's like still really messy. Like everything in your 20s is so messy and chaotic. There's so many different categories. There's no right way, wrong way, only your way to handle and go through romance in this stage of your life. So just do what works for you. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed it. I also like talking about those like cliches, my opinions on them. Again, I feel like it's really circumstantial, but you just hear some of them all the time, and I just want to give my opinions. I'll be back in your ears in a fortnight on another Sunday. I hope you have a great 2 weeks. Please, if you're listening on Spotify or if you're listening on YouTube, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment. If you're on Spotify, you can rate me out of 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe. I want you to listen again in 2 weeks. You can reach out to me on Instagram at yappingfever or my personal Instagram at tamara.barton. And I hope to hear from you all real soon. Give me your opinions and thoughts on what you think romance for you is like in your 20s. Have a good 2 weeks, guys. Bye.